The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans. Hey, before I start the show, I just wanted to thank all you guys for coming back. I get scared every year taking the summers off. I don't know if you're going to be here when I come back, and you are. And I love that. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Extra special thanks to anyone who watched the YouTube video. We're working on it. Intern Josh is learning. Rob Dow's coming on to help out. It should look fucking awesome for this week. So if you looked at it and thought, hey, that's not for me, try again this week. All right. Thanks, guys. Time to start the show. Season 7 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Anon Optics, Time Bomb Trading, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. Just watch my son Bowen heading to work at the Boardroom Snowboard Shop here in Vancouver. Boardroom serves Canada and the U.S. through their website, boardroomshop.com, selling everything you need for snowboarding. I wrote out all the categories, and I'm not going to read them out. That sounds ridiculous. I'll just let you know that if you need something snowboarding, you can find it on boardroomshop.com, or if you live in North Van or Vancouver, check out one of their brick and mortar stores. That's a cool thing to do. The Boardroom offers a guaranteed best price and a performance guarantee, which means you're going to love your stuff even if the first try you don't get it right. You get out there, you realize that the bindings are too small, the boots don't fit, whatever. Bring it back to the Boardroom and they'll make it right, either with giving you your money back or getting you into something better. All right, the Boardroom Snowboard Shop. It's Vancouver's premier snowboard shop. Support also comes from Grouse Mountain, Mount Seymour, New Green Superfood Drink, GoPro, and Volcom. Thanks to everybody who supports the show. Salmon arms. Matt Belzile is a professional snowboarder from Whistler whose backcountry snowboarding is a pure joy to watch. He's been a staple in Whistler for more than 10 years, and he's a classic example of a park guy who took to the backcountry and kicked some ass. Matt's a new dad and super talented at everything he puts his mind to. You're really going to love this conversation with K2 Snowboarding and 686 pro rider Matt Belzile.
I think that we've gotten really good at like the sledding, the getting up early, and the blue days, just really getting after it.
Yeah.
And I think we like kind of really figured out that program. This year might be a little different because little baby Naomi, so we'll see. But Bo went through it, so kind of talking to him, he's like, it's not bad, and it kind of rely on mom a lot more. So
big time. Hey, yeah, big time. I mean, that's the kind of career you have. Like, how long have you guys been together?
We're just over 3 years.
Yeah. So she's had a couple of seasons to see what it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she's awesome. She's like super supportive, and she knows that I love this stuff. So she wants to see me happy.
Basing yourself out of Squamish, is it a bit like, I don't know. I've talked with other guys from the Man Boys, well, just Rasman about it, but like kind of being in Whistler, it's like that travel thing is a little less of your program.
Yeah. Well, this is my third year in Squamish.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving Whistler, I was kind of nervous. I loved Whistler. I loved being like at, a 3-minute drive to the hill and being able to like just pull the trigger and be like, I'm going to go do a couple laps at like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Squamish it's been a bit of an adjustment, but I love it. And I don't think I'd want to move back to Whistler. And the only annoying thing is like traffic on the weekends if you're going to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to answer your question, typically Whistler guys stay in Whistler because it's good. We figured it out. We know our zones.
Right.
And we know it so well that we know where the snow is good on like the way the storm hit. Like
wow.
It gets so scientific. So
yeah.
I think it's hard to leave when you know it so well, right?
Yeah.
But eventually you kind of long for a little more of that adventurous kind of travel.
Sure.
And like we like going to like Revy, and we don't know it as well. So it's like you get a bit more of that discovery.
Yeah, you
right?
got Dustin up there holding down the fort for you.
Dustin is crushing it up there.
How did he choose Revy, in your opinion? Like, is it just like because he was in Whistler for a while, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Revy offers kind of world-class type of boarding like Whistler does.
Totally.
and it's just quieter.
Yep.
So to me, it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, it's kind of sick how he really kind of, I don't know that he pioneered some zones, but he found some zones and he kind of like is showcasing how sick Revy is.
It's
like,
so sick.
Man, when you watch his videos, it's like, it's really sick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'm thinking of, last week's guest was Seth Westcott. And so Seth had a spot in Maine that he was, so like in the summers, he's in Maine.
Crazy.
So everywhere he goes is traveling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure there were some zones that he went like Vermont or something that he could just drive to, but he wasn't like based in a mountain. So like he'd go get on a plane and fly to Baker, or he'd fly to Europe or whatever. Yeah.
I think I learned this from your podcast, but I think Turrier was like that too, right? He never really like was like a mountain resort guy. He would kind of travel to the spots.
I think so. Yeah. Hawaii and the spot in Norway. And yeah. You see now, like some of his edits are just like snow skate stuff that he's just doing around his place.
Yeah.
He's been such a jet setter for so long. I think it was hard on his first marriage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
To have to have kids and then not be home that much.
Yeah. I could only imagine.
Insane. Yeah.
Especially like I'm kind of going through it now. Like we have a 5-month-old and like this is the summer. I'm usually around a lot and I'm seeing how much weight I'm carrying to help out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can only imagine if you're just away a lot, it's got to be really hard on mom.
I think Terrier's got a kid about the same age as your daughter.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. How old is Terrier?
He's younger than me, but not by much. I'm 48. He's probably 47.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's big summer for him with the whole Burton ending. It's kind of a bummer. It's kind of an end of an era type situation.
Yeah. I mean, that's a weird one. It's a touchy one. And it gets to a point where you're like scared to say something wrong because you don't want to upset the wrong people. But
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I really get both sides.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think that there is a real both sides of it thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel for him a lot. Like, it can't feel great to lose a 32-year sponsorship deal.
Yeah. At the same time, this is snowboarding and a 32-year career is pretty incredible.
I think that's a record, isn't it? I mean, sure, like Jamie's been on Lib for, probably around the same, but and Matt Cummings probably longer than that. But we're talking about 3 people out of thousands.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd like to see the average.
yeah, right. It's probably in months. Yeah, nuts. So let's go back to the beginning. Where did you first start shredding?
So I grew up in Elmer, Quebec, which is yeah, it's a town like 10 minutes away from downtown Ottawa. Mm-hmm. It's just on the Quebec side.
Yeah.
And so I grew up riding Camp Fortune, which is a little ski hill, Edelweiss, and Ski Vorlage.
Nice.
And they're just like, it's kind of funny because there's a lot of little resorts in the area.
Yeah.
But they're just tiny, right? And they all offer like night skiing. And that's kind of, I grew up a lot of night skiing, like school days, go at night.
Rad.
And as I got older, the parks started kind of developing in the ski hills and started getting into like jumping. And
did you start on skis or were you right out of the gate on a board?
Yeah, I started skiing for sure.
Yeah.
And I actually remember there's one day where it was like the first, I like had snowboarded with my friends. And then we were going on a family ski trip. And my dad was like, I think he wasn't sure about my ability to snowboard and he didn't want to kind of wait on me all day. So he's like, well, bring your skis. We'll ski in the morning. And then the afternoon you could go snowboard.
Cool.
And so I did that. I skied in the morning and then the afternoon swapped over to snowboarding. And then he saw that I could keep up. And then he was like, okay, you can snowboard.
Oh, that's dope. What kind of board would you have been on at that point?
It was a Burton Air 2.8.
And
it was like super directional. Like
the
back foot would not go past 0.
Yeah. Wow. What year would that have been?
That would have been like 95.
Yeah. So early on.
Yeah.
So you're one of the generation that started on a kids board when there was the first kids boards, really?
Yeah, probably. I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was used. We bought it used. And man, I wish I kept it because it was sick.
Yeah.
I just like sold it to a buddy and then he sold it to another buddy and I don't know where it is anymore, but yeah, such a sick board. Like I wish I had it.
Did you skate as well at that time?
Yeah, it kind of started with skateboarding and winters are pretty harsh back home. So it's like, when winter hits, you're like, well, I can't skate. So now what? And snowboarding was like the obvious next thing. So
yeah, especially if you're skiing. The night skiing thing is key for like catching your attention. Like, man, I can go every night after school and you get a little crew built up.
Yeah. And it's kind of social. Like
it is.
Like you said, you get your crew built up and it's like, it's I had like really fond memories of those
Me
nights.
too. I remember people who would bail out and go into the chalet because it's getting too cold, right?
Yeah.
And they'd be sipping hot chocolate or whatever. I never had cash for food. So going into the chalet, it was like stinky and steamy and there's no point in being in there. So, we'd just still be out on the hill and people would be like looking out like, what are those idiots doing? It's freezing.
Yeah. And I actually remember nights where it was like colder than -30.
Yeah.
And it was literally, we could do 2 runs and that was it. We had to go in, warm up, go back out, 2 more runs. And it was like, thinking back, I'm like, that's insane. Like, I couldn't do it today.
Technical gear didn't even exist. It was freezing cold.
Yeah.
It sucked.
It's crazy.
But it didn't suck. It just felt like, okay,
it was like, this
5 more runs.
Yeah, this is what we have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's weird. The mentality back then, it's just like, we like our group of friends, we loved it so much. It's like nothing could really stop us.
Same. Yeah. Do you have a sponsorship that happens while you're back east or does it happen out here?
I did. It was just sponsored by the Burton rep.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And it was like, I got like free boards and a pro form.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of working my way up a little bit with them and the rep was really sick. And I think he was stoked on me and I was doing pretty well in contests.
Rad.
And then I found out that, you could snowboard in the summertime in Whistler.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, imagine the advantage I'll have snowboarding all summer in Whistler and coming back next season and just crushing all these contests.
Unreal.
And so I did that. The thing is, I went to Whistler and then I never left.
Right. And, did you do Camp of Champions or one of the camps? Or
Straight Glacier.
Yeah.
Yeah, Straight Glacier, like the pass was like $300 for the summer.
Totally. Public park was fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could poach the camps if you're lucky.
I think I did successfully poach a few runs in Camp of Champs and it was sick. Yeah,
man. It's a whole scene and then you've got like huge mountains and like lakes to swim in, skate park. Like,
yeah, it was like mind blowing. And then like seeing the pros that like, in my mind, growing up in Elmer, Quebec was like so far out of reach. Like it's like, it was kind of seeing like a Hollywood movie star.
Agreed.
Seeing the pros.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah. I just had this experience today. It's an old memory. I didn't realize how scared I used to be on the Sea to Sky because I'm so used to driving it now that it's not even a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably never was a big deal, but there used to be these signs that said, watch for falling rock.
Yeah.
And like, that's like kind of an instruction. So you're watching the road and you're sort of looking up the hill, like, and there's rocks. Do you remember this? There used to be rocks on the road.
Yeah. You still see that like past Pemberton.
Oh yeah.
Like what's it called? Duffy Lake Road.
Sure.
That's kind of how it was the whole way. Like it was single lane, like from Vancouver right to Whistler. Like,
and you'd be like dodging like freshly fallen little rocks.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that now going, that's a failure of engineering. Like you shouldn't have a road where you could maybe be hit by a rock that day.
Yeah.
That's like, you don't just put up a sign and say, hey, watch out, there's rocks that fall here.
Yeah.
I remember feeling that driving up being like, oh my God, like it's just a matter of time before my car is crushed by a giant rock.
You're like, oh shit, here comes the rock section.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Please don't get hit by a rock.
And now I haven't thought about that in 20 years or 10, at least since they did the highway for the Olympics. It just never, they changed the sign. The sign says fallen rock area, no stopping.
Okay, yeah.
That's a better sign.
Yeah, they made it like fractionally more safe.
And also you can ignore the sign. Like it's not telling you like, hey buddy, watch out.
Watch out. Yeah.
There's falling rocks here. Yeah, no, it looks like it is safer because I can remember pointing out to friends, look at the holes in the road.
Oh,
those aren't potholes from
those
traffic.
are rocks.
That's rocks like big enough to break a road hit here.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
How the hell did we?
It's crazy too, because when you drive that road, sometimes you'll get like a viewpoint where you can see the road ahead, like in the distance, and it's literally like on the side of a like really steep mountain.
Gnarly.
So it's
like where a rock could get a lot of speed as it's like careening towards your vehicle.
It is gnarly, yeah.
But then I've been out here almost 30 years, and I've talked to thousands of people that have gone to Whistler, and nobody's ever said, "Oh yeah," and then my car got hit by a rock.
Yeah.
So
there was it doesn't happen. I remember it was Pemby Fest, and there was a rock slide. And it completely blocked the road for like a few days.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal because everyone was trapped. And
totally.
Everyone at Pemby Fest couldn't go back home.
Totally.
And the way around is like a 7-hour detour. So
yeah, because you got to go out by Lillooet and then out all the way to Chilliwack or something, or Hope.
Yeah, I think you like pop out at Hope and then you're in the valley, right?
I remember being up at those hot springs and somebody had come up that way in a Volkswagen Golf or something, and they were like, we barely made it.
Whoa, I bet.
We had to take a run at a road and jump over a ditch or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's the Forest Service Road where you get to like, there's 2 hot springs, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I did that road with my girlfriend a couple of years ago. It's like we started in Chilliwack, and it's like 80K Forest Service Road. Yeah. And that road is gnarly, dude.
Yeah, you think, okay, 80K, 2 hours or something. No, it's like 6 hours or something, right? Like, super gnarly.
Yeah. And I'm like a little like kind of not super serious, but like I like off-roading. I'm into off-roading.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this road will be fun. And then halfway through, we're like, this sucks. And like, I just like put 10 years of like wear and tear on my truck.
Yeah. That's nuts. So the sponsorship thing, does it follow you out from Ontario to here or Quebec to here?
No, it doesn't. Like, so I remember reaching out to the Burton rep being like, hey, I think I'm going to stay out here and like, try to make it.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, dude, you're not in my territory anymore. I can't really help you out. Like, I could kind of pass you off to the regional guys and try that route. And we tried, and the regional guys already had their guys and they weren't really interested. So,
oh, wow.
I kind of went, no sponsors, for a bit. And, I just like rolled the park every day. And I just like, you like, even if you don't want to, you will get better, right? You like ride the park every day, like first chair up, last chair down, go to Mongrel Grill for your shift. And then, eventually I started like really hanging out with Andrew Burns and Johnny Fats, and they had like a little video that they were going to put together called Poverty of Opportunity.
Oh, nice.
And Burns actually helped me out quite a bit. He was he was there a couple of years before I was, and he had like really figured it out. And he had like, like we need to make a movie, we need sponsors, and we need to buy sleds, and we need to go in the backcountry.
That early.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah. It was like, I did one season in Whistler. The next season I like had worked all summer and bought a truck and sled.
Holy crap.
Because that's what Burns told me to do.
Nice. And did you know him back in like the Ottawa Valley?
I knew of him.
Right.
And I knew him. It's kind of funny. Like when we talked today, we were like, yeah, you were like my little nemesis. Like I'd see you around, but we're both too cool to talk to each other.
Nice. Yeah, rad.
And he'd do really well in contests, and then sometimes I'd do really well. So And then when we got to Whistler, then we became homies.
Sick.
Yeah. And he helped me out, and he introduced me to Tanea Nash, who was the team manager for West Beach, and she got me on. And then we filmed for that movie, Poverty of Opportunity, and then things kind of progressed. And I remember West Beach started giving me a paycheck, and it was $500 a month.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And I remember like calling my parents, being like, "I made it. I'm making $500 a month. My rent's paid."
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Snowboarding is paying the bills.
Yeah.
Was John
Cartwright
yeah. at West Beach at that time?
He
so
was.
That was that era.
Yeah.
And
he was kind of like unofficially my mentor at that time. Like,
dude's rad.
Yeah, he's a wicked human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
very cool.
When I started filming for Alterna,
yeah,
I was kind of crewed up with him, and
nice.
He like when we went out with Burns, we're all kind of newbies and things were pretty loose. And when I went out with John Cartwright, he like showed me the ropes, like how to film a video part. Right?
Rad. Yeah, your video parts just came out like you came out stomping. Like that was.
Yeah. Well, you guys didn't see the the trials and errors, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And I owe a lot to John because with Alterna, you know, like half the battle is finding the right spots.
Right.
And that's what John kind of like would bring me to the right spots and kind of show me how it's done. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. There is that. We talk about it a lot of times about how the community in snowboarding isn't as supportive as the other board sports. You know, like in skateboarding, you've got your legends on a team bringing up the AMs.
Yeah.
And, you know, and everybody kind of working together. It feels like, but it probably grass is always greener, right? Like you have to do the work yourself. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
So having someone like John show you exactly where you need to be.
It's huge. It really is. And I kind of want to start doing that more for like the younger guys. Yeah. Like this year in the King Snow movie, we had like Sean Miskimen out with us a lot. Yeah. And like, we love that kid. He put the work in, he worked hard. He like learned how to sled on his own. And now we're like, yeah, dude, you're like low friction when you come out with us. Right. So
epic.
Like happy to like show him how it's done.
I couldn't believe he told me that he went out for a full year on his sled without really bringing his board much. He's like, he knew that he had to get.
Dude, so smart.
Yeah.
So smart.
I did not do that.
Yeah. That's like an investment right there. Like that's like, yes. Yeah. That's like,
well, you guys are cut of the same cloth because you're talking about like knowing, you know, you're basically a kid and you know, like, hey, I like this contest series thing and I'll get a leg up if I continue through the summer. You're in good company there. That's Tim Wendell and Craig Kelly going to the, you know, Stubai Glacier and realizing, wow, you know, we've got a leg up on the competition here. Yeah. Because we've had 2 more months on the snow and everybody else has been, you know, just kicking it, windsurfing or whatever the hell they're doing. Right? Yeah, man. So like, that's your reputation, is that you're thoughtful, like you would appreciate Miskimen thinking about like, hey, I want to be a pro snowboarder. How do I do that professionally? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Even going back to like buying my first sled, man, I worked like 2 jobs in the summer to buy a sled and a truck. Right. And the truck was $400. But I was just like, I think what I saw in Miskimen was like the hustle of like, I'm willing to like put the work in. Yeah. And figure out like, well, how can I go with those guys? Well, those guys, they don't want to go with someone who can't sled. And then of course days are wasted. Right. And there's only so many good days in the winter. So like, I'm going to learn how to sled. Yeah. And at least I can hang with those guys.
That's smart. Yeah. I'm the opposite of that. I went out with, you know, the guys like Graham Cam and I didn't know how to sled. So I was like, I guess I can't drive it down. Like, so I was getting extra laps in. But now when I look back, I'm like, oh, that guy's an asshole. Like, I don't want to bring a guy out that doesn't know how to sled because I don't get any laps. Cause it's like, you got 4 of you for numbers, but only 3 of you can drive the sleds. Yeah. It's like the one guy's, you know, riding every single time.
Totally. And I guess for me, like learning how to sled, that was like me, Burns, Russell Dalby. We were all like, Burns probably had a season on us. So he kind of was a little bit better. Yeah. But like, man, I remember like putting my sled in a creek bed and like, yeah, so much trials and error. And then once I was able to do it, then John Cartwright was like, yeah, come hang, right?
Rad.
And yeah, so it's kind of how that developed. And yeah, I just like, yeah, I love seeing like Sean Miskimen, like taking those steps and like,
Yeah, that next gen
yeah,
coming out and being like, I mean, he's a contest kid, right? That's come out of contests going, I just think I would rather be in the backcountry, which is like, that's inspiring, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, there's kids that's what they want to do.
yeah. I had a crossroads where I was like, okay, it's either like I go full on contest and, or I like go full on filming. Cause like right now, if I do both, you're just going to fall behind on both, right?
Yeah. What era of contests are we talking? Like, who'd you be
This was
competing
like,
against?
this was like when Shakedown was around.
Okay. Yeah.
And, yeah, like in 2010, I think it was like my last year of really competing.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I did Shakedown and I did back 12.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and
Sick.
and that was like, I was like, okay, that was my trick to win shit with. And I did back 12 and I did that Shakedown, but I fucked up on the rails. I think I got fourth.
Yeah.
But
Fourth is still really like the competition at that point is a lot.
I was stoked. And I don't know if this is true, but I guess that was the first 12 in that contest.
Oh, sick, dude.
So I like to hold that card up. And be
Yeah,
like,
you got an
that's me.
NBD, man. That's sick. A 12 in a contest.
Yeah, so I think it was the year after I was like, yeah, not a lot of people starting 12s and then like double corks were really a thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't really have those tricks. So I was like, the year after I was like, okay, well, don't like go like kill myself trying to learn these things. Or
Right.
like I was already filming the backcountry and loving it. So I was like, it was the obvious choice for me.
Yeah, which is, it seems to me to be like, that's the best
Yeah.
deal. If you can figure out how to go into the backcountry, you've got camaraderie, you've got, you know, your leisure,
nature,
you're going to kick a fire up.
You got powder. Like, you talk to a lot of the contest kids. It's a lot of them. That's the end goal, right? Mm-hmm. And that's sick.
Yeah.
And yeah, backcountry snowboarding too. I always kind of said this. It's like kind of the one thing that like we have over skateboarding and surfing. It's
absolutely
like, that's unique to snowboarding. Is like snowboarding on powder.
Totally, man. Yeah, that's Mike Frankwood said that. He said,
did he? Oh,
he was up in Alaska with Craig Kelly, and Craig said, this is what snowboarding is. Like, this is the identity of snowboarding because it's not stealing from surfing or borrowing from skateboarding. This is like something completely unique and something really exciting. Like, and he was always talking about Craig now, he was always thinking about how will snowboarding grow, right? Like, what could snowboarding be and put on a screen in front of people that would be uniquely snowboarding.
Right. Okay.
And when they were in Alaska, he was like, this is it. This is what it is.
Sick.
Yeah. When you think about like surfing and then there's big wave surfing, there's contest surfing, like in snowboarding, big mountain freestyle really kicked off with guys like Johan and like those fall line films of guys going up and jumping off cliffs and
the TB movies.
The TB movies, yeah. It's like that's what drew me in, is this imaginary place when you're riding 60 vertical feet at Adanac in Sudbury, Ontario, and it's Blair ice. And you're jumping off cliffs to, you know, ice flat. You get out here and you're like, oh man, like this, I could just do this as a guy who has a 9-to-5 job. And then at night, go snowboarding. On the weekends, go to Baker. Like,
100%.
A regular person could do this stuff.
Yeah. For me, it was like watching like Devin Walsh.
Yeah.
And I was like, that like tricks in the backcountry in powder. Like, that was like the dream for me.
Devin's trajectory, like seeing him riding at Seymour, like, because Seymour is it's kind of hard to figure out if you're just from out of town or whatever and you roll up to Seymour.
Right.
You're like, what is this? This is tiny. But then when you get the vibe and you see the side hits and you like, because most mountains you go to, if you link up with a crew, it's all about side. It's like the hit run, right? Whatever's going on. That's the best thing at the mountain is you go and you ride with, you know, I rode, oh God, what's the run at Snowbird that Dead Lung always Chips run?
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah,
okay.
I went to Snowbird and I've linked up with some locals there. Benny Pellegrino, thanks for showing me around.
Sick.
Jeff Davis, who's a sick old time, like super pro, invented the crippler and was on Burton and on Nitro back in the day. And just riding with those guys on the hit run, I'm like, oh, that is what I want to do. If I'm resort riding, I want to be riding the hit run.
Yeah. And that's where Seymour is like really dope.
Yeah. So Devin's progression, then they could take hit run stuff and build big jumps in the side country there.
Yeah.
And take the progression to the next level. It was insane to watch.
Yeah. Like City Booter.
It's so insane.
Yeah.
It's so straightforward. You get there and you're like, no way.
Yeah.
If you point a camera in this direction, as long as the person gets in the air, you've got like an insane shot.
Yeah. Like anyone would enjoy that shot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's kind of perfect. So yeah. And then Devin had that special thing too. Like he's like
he is like a style master, right?
Style master. Totally. Totally.
Especially for his era. Like,
yeah.
He, like as a kid, he was always like my favorite.
Oh, cool.
And like the fact that he was Canadian, it like was like, yeah.
Double down.
Yeah, he's my guy.
Yeah. Did you dissect his stuff and try and, put that kind of style into your own riding?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's like one of the riders. He was my favorite. So like, I try to ride like him 100%.
Back ones.
Yeah, like the back fives. I remember he was in X Games and he did a back five in X Games. Like, can you imagine that today? Like, no. And his backs, the style was so sick. He like barely moved. And like, I remember I was trying to replicate that back five.
Yeah. It's hard. I think that as a recreational freestyle guy, you feel like you did it. And then you see the film of it. You go, oh my God, what was going on? Why is my body moving like that?
Like, what? I didn't know I flailed.
It's so bad, dude. Yeah. I had, and I bend at the waist in a weird way. Whereas Devin was just everything tight together.
Yeah.
And he was trying to ride like Jamie, right? Like, cause Jamie's like that.
Right.
Jamie's like a stocky squat.
Yeah.
Same sort of rider, right? Like, no flail.
Yeah. That makes sense too. Like, he must have totally been like, Jamie was like the dude back then. Right?
Oh, they were obsessed. Yeah. I remember them coming into the boardroom and saying like, we're not wearing gloves this year. Jamie didn't wear gloves in his part or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being like, okay. And we're all going to wear white toques. Like, all right, cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me of like the JP area. It was like, everyone starts wearing like the bandanas.
Do-rags.
Yeah. Do-rags.
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Like a conscious choice to stand out.
Yeah. Or like the flare, like the pass hanging out. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
JP, like, for my money, I don't think there's a better well-rounded rider, pro rider, like style-wise and longevity of career and commitment,
Yeah. Just full-on legend, man. Like, And it's funny, like, so my favorite was Devin, but all my friends, JP was their guy.
I could see that. Yeah.
And JP, man. Yeah, what a legend.
Still now, now. Everything that he puts down, you're like, okay, he's earned that spot.
Yeah. And I think I like JP that he stuck with street shit like his whole career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
totally.
Respect.
Yeah. I mean, back in the early days, like Rev and then early Forum, he had some legit, I think he has some NBDs, dude. Like he put down a bunch of like, I don't mean in street, like also in like jumping in the air.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back 10 on Forum Step Down, NBD. What's it? Like a big deal MBD. Like sick. I think he like switched back 3 the Hurley gap, which is mind blowing.
That is mind blowing.
And that was just to name a few. Like
So that era was what you were chasing. Yeah. And you get out here, you're riding with Burns and your crew. Who else is in your crew at that point?
Brian McClatchy. Mm-hmm. A little E-Man came out. He kind of was like joining in, and I kind of like hung out with those guys for a while. And then I guess I started filming for Alterna, which would have been John Cartwright, Dave Short,
Nice.
Neil Connolly.
Yeah.
Then I filmed all with Solars for Eddie Graham's project, which Eddie Graham's was based out of Utah. And I was like,
rad.
I remember KT was like, yeah, get into some American projects. It'll help out a lot.
Totally.
And so
that's big for Canadians, right? Like it's hard to kind of break out of that Canadian filming scene.
Yeah.
Because it's your friends, it's buddies that are all around, and it's easy to film with.
Exactly.
It's not easy to get on a US crew for sure.
Yeah. And the US is like, that's the big market. And it's a lot of Canadian stuff just gets lost and never makes it to the US.
Yeah.
I think it's better now with the internet.
Yeah,
and
of course.
And social media and stuff. But yeah, back then it was like kind of important to like get into American projects so that you get more eyes on you type thing.
So how do you bridge that with Solars? Does he say, hey, I'm filming with these guys? Do you want to come for a trip?
No, it was actually through Camp of Champions. Eddie Grams was like the camp filmer.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, he came out from Utah and he filmed, and we all became homies.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that winter he was like, I want to make a project. Let's get you guys in. And we hired Hayden Wrench.
Oh, sick.
To be our filmer. And
dope.
Yeah, it was me and Mark, and there's got to be someone else. We did some street stuff. I guess it's just me and Mark, and then we had like Jody tag along, and
this is the Man Boys starting to happen, right? Like this is pre-Man Boys,
pretty
Man
much.
Boys.
Yeah. We had even Rusty like tagged along on some rail trips, which is pretty funny to think of now, like Rusty on rails.
Yeah, that's dope.
But yeah, and then from there, like that project did pretty well, and Mark went on to film with Transworld. I went on to film with Standard.
Oh, wow. No way. Who was your filmer with Standard?
It was Jeff Keenan.
Sick.
And a little bit of Travis Robb.
Travis Robb. Yeah.
So that didn't go well for me.
Oh, what?
Yeah. My part completely got chopped out of the movie.
Holy shit. And so this is a K2 thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, how long have you been on K2? Like, we haven't really talked about that. Did you get...
I think I got on
K2 pretty quick out here.
Like 05.
Okay. Yeah.
2005, and they're the ones that like helped me with Alterna buy-ins and all the buy-ins, and
they've supported you through all this stuff, and then they come to you and say, hey, big news, your last year's part kicked ass. We got you in Standard.
You're doing Standard, and I was like, holy shit.
What's that phone call feel like? Is it like a life changer? You're like, holy fuck, I made it.
Well, honestly, it was like, holy shit, okay. Like, it was a lot of like, really me? Like, can I hang with those guys?
Wow.
Like, Horstein was filming for them at the time, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, maybe I might have been a little in my head because I was like, a little bit of self-doubt. Like, oh man, I don't know. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, this is the obvious next step, and this is what I got to do.
Yeah, you're not going to say no. Yeah. Like, you're not going to call them, you know what, actually, I don't want to be in there.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. I could see that kind of pressure, though. Because who else in Whistler at that point is filming with Standard?
Yeah. Well, I got paired with Ryan Teeney.
Okay.
He's Australian, but he was like a Whistler guy.
Yeah.
And like, K2 had thrown like a bunch of money at that project.
Right.
So there was a lot on the table. It was also the year of the Olympics. So Whistler was all weird. And I actually spent, I lived in Vancouver that year. And I had filmed a part, but they didn't deem it good enough. And they completely chopped it.
Oh, wow.
And then K2 was kind of like, hey, dude, like, what happened? What's up?
Yeah.
And I remember it was like, this career could totally be over for me.
Devastated.
Like, I blew it. Like,
devastated.
It, right? Yeah.
Oh, wow, man.
And, but man, the K2 TM was really cool. He's like, he's like, really? So you think you did okay? I was like, yeah, I got some shots for sure. Like, I thought I had a part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, let me try to get all your footage. Like, we paid for this shit. Like, I'm going to try to get your footage and let's salvage something.
Dope.
And he was able to do that, and he gave it to Eddie Grams.
Yeah.
And Eddie Grams put it together and made like an online video part.
Oh, sick.
And it did pretty well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it like totally saved me. Like, man, like, yeah, that whole situation, like highs and lows. Like I thought my career was done.
Oh man.
You know?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's got to happen to a lot of guys, right? Where you go on the trip. One thing I've learned over the years is that your crew, like especially, you could see it in the Man Boys movies, but if you take each one of those people out and you just throw them on a random crew somewhere, like you might not be guaranteed. You know, there might be a rivalry going on with the other person that you're traveling with, or the people you're traveling with, or the filmers can have attitude too and be like, dude, you're on a standard shoot, man. This isn't your buddies in the backcountry.
That's big time. And I've felt that way before with filmers where like they get in your head. Yeah. And like your confidence is shot. And then you snowboard like shit. Oh, man. And you're not going to produce. And then
that's scary.
Yeah. It's like, it's a lot of it's a mental game, like a lot of the times, right? Yeah.
Where did you film for the standard stuff? Like where was that footage from?
Mostly Whistler.
Yeah.
We did a stint in Tahoe.
Rad.
That was actually a really fun trip. Like Ryan Teeny and I drove down to Tahoe, like in his truck and like sled in the back. Yeah.
I heard it's a rad sled zone. Pretty easy access to a bunch of epic shit.
It's really cool. Yeah. And like you see a lot of like the iconic spots from the TB movies and
I love that.
It's sick. Yeah. Sonora Pass that's the zone. And like I've never made it back since, but I've always wanted to.
Yeah, it'd be worth it to take. Yeah, maybe the Man Boys go to Sonora Pass.
Dude, yeah. But I think it would have been in the cards, but I think they've had bad winters. Like they've had almost a decade of like bad snow years.
Yeah, possibly. They just got 3 feet last week or something. So it looks like it could be one of those.
I think in recent years it kind of came back, but.
Yeah. I went and rode with Dave Hatchett, actually.
No kidding.
Yeah, man.
Sick.
He lives at the base of like Homewood.
So you were there recently?
That was a year ago. Oh, no, 2 years ago now.
Okay. I thought you like caught this last storm.
God. I almost bought a ticket to go. It's a lot of hoops to jump through with the COVID crap, but it's worth it. The flights in the States are really cheap right now.
Dude, I bet. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get back there this year. I'm not at a pro level. It's just such a beautiful spot to go as like, you know, an enthusiast.
Yeah.
There's so many resorts.
Yeah. Lake Tahoe is really sick. I actually like, that's like one of the spots where I would have considered moving to.
Absolutely.
It's like that sick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And just like Whistler, there's a bunch of different, and the same in Salt Lake City, right? Like if you know the weather, then you know it could have not snowed, but a strong wind could have loaded up somewhere.
Totally.
And if you just know, then you're pretty much guaranteed all the time there's somewhere to go.
Yeah. No, Salt Lake's sick too. Like, I like Salt Lake's like a pretty big city.
Yeah.
And so there's like a lot of stuff going on, a lot of interesting people doing interesting, different things than you are.
Totally.
And then, but you're like, the mountains are right there.
Right there.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah. And they got hot springs and everything. I really like Utah. I've been a couple of times. And the first time I went by myself, going to a big mountain by yourself is not the raddest thing in the world, especially if you only have a day. Yeah. You're not going to figure anything out.
Yeah. Yeah. You need the look dogs.
You just need it. Yeah. Because then you're on the best shit.
Yeah.
And it was right there. You were riding past it going, where is everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. How often do you have people come up to Whistler that need to be shown around?
Filming, lots. Especially you think the resort's hard to get around? Like, sledding is like a whole new ball game.
Right.
And we had like the French guys come up, like Victor Delarue.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and like talking about like not knowing how to sled. Sometimes it could be like extremely annoying, but sometimes it could be pretty hilarious. Like watching like a world-class snowboarder like Victor like struggle on a sled. It's kind of sick.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot of guys need kind of like some showing around in the backcountry. Yeah.
Well, the K2 team is huge right now.
Yeah.
And just loaded with super good people on it.
Yeah. Yeah. They've been around forever, since 87.
Yeah.
Which is like, people will dog on ski companies, but that's pretty sick for a ski company. Like,
yeah. And they were sick the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like they had the dudes, man. Yeah.
Like
Kevin Young, geez.
Travis Parker
was on there. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Farmer way back in the day. Yeah. Vile.
Sick roster.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan of K2.
yeah. They've been putting in a lot of work with Canadians. The last few years for sure.
Yeah, and they, just like it feels good. They keep guys for a while, which feels good.
Yeah,
and the team manager's like right now, Tom Johnson.
Okay,
like such a good vision and
dope.
Yeah, he's like the brains behind everything that's going on right now, and like having Pat Moore on the team and Sage sick. And like,
sick.
Just hammers.
Yeah, man, exactly. Yeah, and not bumping you guys off the team to put all the budget into, these big name US guys. I think you see it so many times that people come in to team manage and really what they do is they cut everybody and bring their pro friends on or whatever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like K2's doing that at all, which is dope.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of team managers I've been through, I'm like, well, it's still here. Sweet.
Yeah, it's got to be sketchy. It's got to be a little bit scary, right? This is a volatile industry.
Yeah, it really is. And like we talked about earlier, like what's the average career span? Like not long.
Yeah, it's
typically
true.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Have you had any injuries that you've had to come back from? Have you been able to dodge that?
Honestly, my biggest one was last season. I broke my arm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, knock on wood. I haven't had like anything crazy. I've had like kind of close calls where like, I remember early on, I overshot a jump and it was like heavy snow, like it was in the spring.
Yeah.
And I overshot and I thought I blew both my knees. And that was harsh. That was harsh on the mental because I kind of the same thing. I was like questioning everything. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my body? Is this worth it?
Right.
But it ended up being fine. I just kind of like tweaked them both.
Jeez.
But yeah, besides that, I don't know. I think with age, I got really good at knowing my ability and kind of assessing risk versus reward.
Yeah.
And kind of kept injuries at a minimum, which is
again, that's your
good.
Reputation, right? Like that you're not the kind of person that's just, getting wasted the night before and then just going out and being like, I guess I'll try this or whatever. It's like, you probably have a trick list that you're after.
I think a lot of it now is just kind of on feeling. And I think that, I've been doing it long enough where like intuition is really good. And like, and kind of not having the ego where you're not feeling it and you're backing out of things and not feeling like everyone around you like, you're okay. Why not? Come on. And got to watch myself going out with Chris because Chris is he's really good and he hits the big shit. And sometimes you got to like check yourself being like, okay, like Chris is going to do it doesn't mean you have to do it.
Right. And he's really just taken
he's
off
on
the last
another
few
level.
years.
Yeah, he's on another level and he's so strong.
He's fun to watch. He's got a really good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, he's like a gem.
Yeah, so when do you meet Chris? Because you were talking about filming with essentially all the Man Boys.
Yeah.
Before the Man Boys even happened.
And Chris was kind of like the later edition, I guess.
Yeah.
But Chris I met because I started riding for Quicksilver.
Sick.
And just to add to the whole standard situation, I had just gone on Quicksilver and they're like, sick, you're going to have a part in standard. That's awesome. Yeah, and then I'm like, first year on Quick, I'm like, they cut my part.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it's just a side story. But Chris was riding for Quick already and I got on and the summer did I get on in the summer? I must have gotten on in the summer. They sent us to New Zealand together.
No way.
And like trips are awesome for like getting to know someone. So
Totally.
Chris and I kind of hit it off, and we had a wicked time in New Zealand. We like rode with Travis Rice, and
Sick.
that was before Art of Flight.
Oh, wow.
And he had already filmed all that stuff, so it was kind of sick.
Yeah, that's super dope.
Yeah. And so Chris and I became friends mostly from that trip. And then the Man Boys started. How did it start? It was Rusty and I wanted to film with each other. We didn't have the same sponsors. Rusty was filming for our own project. I was filming for K2 project, but we wanted to film together. So we hired a filmer, and that was expensive. And we got kind of Chris involved to like help pay for the filmer.
Rad.
But Chris got hurt that year and didn't do many days with us. So it was like me and Rusty, and we had a good season. And then the next year, it was like Rusty was kind of like, dude, let's just do a project together. Like we work good together. We're homies. It's like, we love doing it together. So let's, it's a logical next step. And then Chris was like, should we get Chris involved? And then Chris to me was like, get me in the project. I want to film with you guys. Like,
Rad.
Please.
Yes.
Right? So I'm like, all right, I'm trying, I'm pushing.
Yeah.
And, cause originally it was be like, me, Rusty, and Mark.
Yeah.
Jody.
Yeah.
Actually, no, Jody wasn't really involved because he was still like the rail guy, and he wanted to film with the dope guys.
Dope Industries. Yeah.
Yeah. And, so Chris kind of just like made it on, and we did a trip with him, and it went well. And we're like, all right, well, let's just keep Chris on. He's crushing it. And, if his footage sucks, then we're just going to break it to him that he's not in the project. But he crushed it, obviously. He's Chris Rasman.
Yeah.
And, and then it just kind of built from there.
Where did that aesthetic of guys having fun out snowboarding come from? Like, was that a vision of the group, or was that like Rusty's editing or something? Like, where?
I think it was a few things. I think it was we grew up in the era of watching Afterbang and robot food movies,
robot
right?
food
Which it was like, that's what it was.
100%.
And that's what, we love that shit. So it was that was an influence. And then filming with your homies, you just have fun. Like, man, it's kind of genuine, right?
Yeah.
And then, and at the beginning we had Robin Taylor involved, and he had like, kind of like the skits were a lot of Robin's ideas, and that was like a cool way to kind of like make us different, I guess.
Yeah.
And showing that it's like this, we're not taking ourselves that seriously.
Right.
But still have good boarding in it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the formula, and we rolled with it. And I think that's a great formula.
It started as a web series, didn't it? Or was it? Yeah. Before there was a full on project, it was web series.
Yeah.
And then Transworld picked it up, and it was like, oh my God, this is what shit should be like.
Yeah. And I think, we won Best Web Series award from Transworld.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. And then, we grew up with snowboard movies. So eventually we did a movie, I think in 2016.
I went to that first movie premiere. I think there was one down in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah.
That was at Fortune Sound Club or something.
Yeah, totally.
And it was going off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, these guys are wicked.
Yeah, I think we aired it with the Wildcats. So it just made it like that much more wild.
Yeah, I think that Wildcat premiere was probably the last time all of Vancouver came out.
Yeah.
And just packed into a small space. And it was like, like the old days.
That was a good night. Yeah. I remember that.
That was
awesome.
really fun.
I think the Fortune guys was like, anytime you guys wanted to premiere, just hit us up. Like, this is awesome.
That was off the chart. I remember it was standing room only. They had the two screens at the end. I don't even remember seeing the movie, to be honest. It was like, it was just going off. That was so fun. And that was really what put the Man Boys on my radar. Because it was like kind of a passing of the torch. It's like the Wildcats are going to come out of retirement and do a 10 years later, like, where are they now?
Yeah.
Fun movie.
Yeah,
I think JF was really the driving force behind that.
Yeah.
And, to see Devin still currently riding, kicking ass. And it was epic. And then, sometimes you see a movie premiere and the first couple of movies, you're kind of like,
Yeah.
But this was like, oh my God.
Yeah, there was something special there. There's like a good energy, and like you said, it's like all of Vancouver's snowboard community was there.
Totally.
And yeah, it was just epic.
Yeah. And from there, so then the Man Boys projects, have you done one every year? There was maybe a gap year 1 year, huh?
No, we pretty much did one every year until last year.
Yeah.
And that's because Rusty kind of he got dropped from his sponsors, and he was like kind of the glue.
Yeah.
And he edited all the projects, right? So and he was kind of figuring out what he wanted to do. So that's why we went to King and did the King Snow movie, which was
so
super
sick.
Yeah. And it was sick because we still got to film with our homies. Like I filmed with Chris and Jody, and Bo got to kind of join, which he's a good homie. And
he looks like he's fun to snowboard with too.
Yeah.
Like just like a really good.
Yeah, he's got good energy, and he's like, Bo's good for like to help you get a shot. You know, he's not selfish out there being like me, like I want to snowboard, get a shot. He's like, he's good at like working his team. Like, what do you want to do? Okay, I'll shuttle you up. Like, let's make it happen.
Dope.
Bo is safe. He's got all the safety shit. He's like the kind of guy you want around, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, Bo's good that way. And so it was cool to do the King because it's still like all your homies, felt like business as usual.
There's a Man Boys project coming out this year, right? Like that.
Yeah, so Rusty ended up doing something for Après Lager.
Sick.
Gibbons Après Lager.
Perfect.
And it's just a project to go in there like the restaurants and
fun.
help promote the beer. And it was kind of a way for Rusty to kind of test the waters, being a filmer and then editing a project. And he really liked it. He loved it. And so I think this year, I don't know if I could be talking about this, but we're probably going to be filming with Rusty and,
dope.
And kind of keep that going. I don't know that it'll be like the Man Boys. It might be like something different. And,
well, it's always been growing and changing. Like Sollers was kind of out of there for a bit.
Yeah.
And then McMorris, coming in, and it's just such a fun franchise or whatever, you know what I mean? It'd be a shame to just let it go to nothing, but I understand how volatile that stuff is, right?
Yeah.
Like the Rusty thing for me is like, and I'm just talking out my ass here, but every once in a while you get somebody who rips that just gets on a sponsorship thing, like a Simone Chamberlain, where all of a sudden this guy who's like a world-class snowboarder is working construction because he's got to pay for the house that he bought with his snowboarding checks that have stopped coming in. Yeah. And you just go like...
And like sometimes, like in Rusty's case, just like this outside force, the pandemic. Yeah. Like, I think Rusty still had so much to show the world on a snowboard.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I think he, at the same time, he kind of accepted it and he was kind of ready to do the next step.
It's fun for him to edit, right?
Yeah,
like
he's
it's fun for him to film.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like a new passion for him. So, and he's so good at it.
He's really good at it. Yeah. Yeah. I feel bad that when somebody's career comes to an end, especially when there's nothing that happened, right? Like, it's not like he broke his legs and he had to be off for 2 years. It's like he was ready to go and his sponsors just dried up.
And like, especially like a guy like Rusty, I think he like brings so much value to a brand. Like he's not just a snowboarder. He's like, he's a photographer. He's a videographer. He's an editor. Like he can bring so much to like a brand. And it's just, I was like, out of all of us, Rusty's the one that gets...
It's super crazy.
Yeah. It's tough industry, man. And like, brands got to make money and they got to make cuts and...
It's a different time, right? Like from when you started out till now, like, kids who are hungry, somebody getting a $500 a month check from one sponsor would be like, I made it.
That's completely. That's really good nowadays, which is kind of crazy. Yeah.
When back in the day, it was like, there were people that were pulling in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I just missed the boat on that one.
It's hard to imagine. Like I've talked to a lot of people that were through that era going, man, if I would have worked a little bit harder,
Yeah.
you know.
That's funny you say that. Did you watch the Michael Jordan documentary, Last Dance?
I haven't. No.
It's so sick.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
Dude, I watched that and it's just like, it made me wish I worked harder in my career. Like watching MJ, like, dude, the dedication and the like, just the hard work, the like, the grit, dude.
Yeah.
It made me like look back at my career and being like, fuck, I should have worked harder.
Should have just gone that much harder.
Yeah.
Would it have been possible, do you think? Like, you being hard on yourself, you seem like you took it pretty serious.
Yeah. It's easy to be hard on yourself. I mean, you're your toughest critic. I just like, I don't know, like, I think it's getting older and being like, kind of seeing your prime.
Yes.
You're like leaving your prime.
Yes, man.
And being like, fuck, I wish I took like full advantage of that. Like, just like all the energy and just like, I don't know, I just worked a little harder.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I'm not dogging on my snowboard career.
No.
I think I'm pretty happy with how it went and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, dude.
But I don't know. It's just that project. It's like I want to tell the younger kids, like, watch that documentary and just work as hard as you can. If that's what you want. Like, I get like, some people will kind of dog on it being like, well, you're just a miserable athlete that just like worked your ass off because you wanted to, like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. You want to have that balance where you're having fun while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Where you're not gripped every moment, going on trips thinking like, can I fucking do this? And
I look back at your career and I was like, wow, I was miserable the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, that's not worth it. But to me, I think maybe it's just personally what brings me happiness is like working hard at something and get gratification down the road and look back and be like, that's how I got here. Like,
good thing I put in that hard work.
Exactly.
And had the vision. Yeah, I remember Sean Kearns talking about Devin's part in that, I think, where he said, Devin, what if there's no filler? What if we did a part with no filler? Like, where not one trick isn't like the raddest shit you've ever done in your life. And Devin was like, sounds good.
Yeah.
And then they've put in the hard work. Like, so that's what the Man Boys thing is to me.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. Let's push each other. Like, because like we were talking about, you go on a standard trip with some guy from Whistler that's just the default guy from Whistler. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're not buds. Mm-hmm. You get on the trip and you're like, this is lonely. I miss my friends. I'm out of my element. Like, I'm in a new zone.
Yeah. Like, or like, I'm in my head.
I'm in my head.
I don't want to talk to these guys about what's going on in my head.
Right. You need your friends.
Yeah.
You need your buddy who's a filmer that's like, dude, you got this.
Yeah.
Right. Or Kern saying like, Devin, you better fucking spin off this. Don't make me go up there and spin off this.
Yeah.
And Devin,
I heard Kearns was pretty gnarly that way. But like, I think the Man Boys had a good dynamic in that, like, we had Chris who was like hungry and like he would push the crew, and especially trick wise. We had Rusty that was just straight up a hard worker, and he'd motivate the crew to like, let's go out and get shit done.
Dope.
And that was fun, man. Like, getting shit done and like, that's gratifying to me, man. Like, I don't know, when you look back at a video part that you hustled hard for and it, like, the product is awesome.
That's dope.
That's sick to me. That's like, that's worth it.
That's the job, right? Like, that's,
and you have fun along the way, and like the failures you laugh about, that's the part where you like don't beat yourself up about.
Yeah. Well, I'm 10 years older than you, so I'm like hearing you talk about the regret thing, kind of looking at your prime, dwindling. Yeah. And I'll tell you, from 10 years in the future, you just like go, wow, so I'm going to be this now forever. Like, this is as, that time is the best.
Right.
When you're hungry and you're not jaded yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, where you can share a hotel room with 4 people and not think like, fuck, 4 people in this room. Like, what the hell? Haven't I earned my own room yet?
Yeah.
Like,
but dude, that kind of shit, like the roughing it like that, 4 guys in a room.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy that shit. Enjoy the journey, man. Cause when you get to that place where you think you made it, it's not like you don't feel any different, and you just look back and all the shit that you did to get there are like fond memories, and you then enjoy like roughing it.
That's the fun.
You know?
Yeah. That's the bonding between pro riders that I've seen.
Yeah.
Is like that shared experience of being away from home,
Totally.
bunch of dudes partying at night,
Yeah.
snowboarding, taking it serious.
Yeah, there's some high times, there's some low times.
Yeah, totally.
Some like crew butting heads.
Yeah,
man, you getting through it, and fuck, it makes it all worth it.
That's the best part. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, dude.
So are you still on 686?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw on the way up here. I shouldn't say this much. It'll kill me. The snowboarding with Sarge, what's it called? Sessions with Sarge.
Session with Sarge,
yeah. And I'm
Pat McCarthy, shout out.
Yeah, what a dude, man.
He's such a legend.
Like glue, right? Glue in the industry.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of guy I'd look up to as a pro rider. Like, okay, I want to be that guy. If I was, I'll never be a pro rider, but like those are the guys that really inspire you to be your best self, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. Like, Sarge, like his love for snowboarding is like infectious. When you go ride Baker with Sarge, and it's the best. Yeah. It's like,
yeah. Baker's the Mecca. That's the thing.
And I think he's the same way when I go down to Baker for a shoot.
Yeah.
He's like, let's get shit done. and like that, he's got that dynamic where like, he's showing you the spots where like, when we get shit done and that's fucking sick.
Yeah. 686 has always been, I've had a few of their jackets. I'm like always impressed.
Oh, they're so good.
Shit's good.
Yeah. And even, so when did I get on 686? I think, 2013, they just were like giving me gear.
Yeah.
And it was okay. And then like 2014, I probably officially got on them, and they like wanted me as like their glacier guy, which is like their high end stuff.
Sick.
And like, oh man, it got so good, like threefold from what it was. And it was good. Yeah. And like today it's like, man, the fits are perfect. It's Gore-Tex. And they keep like innovating with like the stretch material, the Hydro Stash, which is like a built-in water, it's not a bottle, but it's a built-in water supply where you can drink out of your jacket.
No way.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh,
and
that's
like,
dope.
Yeah. They're, such a great company that just like keeps pushing it.
Oh, that's rad. So you linked up with them after the Quicksilver thing.
Yeah.
Quicksilver for a year or two.
There was like a year or two where like I didn't have an outerwear sponsor and I was in limbo, and thanks to K2, they believed in me and kept me on, and like, sweet. Yeah, kept me afloat. And,
well, you were crushing it too. Like your video parts every year were fucking awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I feel like, it's funny. Like, I feel like I did the best in my 30s, which is kind of weird to say, because I think, most people's perception is that your 20s are like your prime in snowboarding, but I think
20s are for contest kids. You know what I mean? A 20-year-old, like just ruling in the backcountry, I don't, it could happen, like a Johan situation where
or he's Cicerelli or
Cicerelli, and the kids that are coming now, right? Yeah. Like Miskamin, same deal. Yeah. Like bringing that contest mentality and professionalism to the backcountry. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think for them to go out on their own and do it on their own is going to be a different story, because absolutely the backcountry, you need that experience. And like I said earlier, you need to know where to go, where the snow's good, like the features, the spots, how to build them. Yeah. Like that's all experience. And I think, when I hit 30, all that experience kind of like lined up with my talent, I guess, or my ability. Sure. And then as like my 30s were like my best years in snowboarding.
That's sick.
And it was also like I was always told like, oh, once you're 30, you're done, you're washed. And like, that was the industry's mentality. And I think I wanted to like spite that. I was kind of like, to show the world that like, no, man, like you can still do it. Yeah. Yeah. There was someone on the show last year, might have been Blaze Rosenthal, who quit because he turned 27. He was like, I'm 27. I'm done. Like everybody's done by now. I've been old for like 3 years, you know, but really, I see him ride now and he's in his 40s and he's still got that style and he's still fun to watch. Sollers talked about it last year. Okay. Just about like transitioning from the young, hungry park kid to being somebody that's, like
not going out to be the absolute best guy in the park that day.
Yeah.
And oh my God, Whistler, to be the best in the park at Whistler is like a fucking insane deal.
Yeah.
You're like one of the best in the world then. It's nuts.
Yeah, you're up there with Mark McMorris.
Right. And then that's what Solar said. He said, you know what? I remember seeing people roll through the park who were my idols when I was growing up, and seeing them just do something clean in the park.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be, you know, the biggest spin. It didn't have to be even the biggest air. It's just like rad to see them ride.
Yeah. And it's good. I think it's good for the younger guys to see older guys doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the big problem with the stigma in the industry where like you're 30, you're done, is like if that's your belief, then you're going to convince yourself that that's the case.
Right.
So I think it's good to kind of show the world that like, man, you could go until your 40s.
Yeah.
And crush it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like my goal. Man, if you just have like the stoke or like the froth to go out, that's all that's all you need, man.
That's it.
Have a good time.
I had to buy a sled now because this is the end of the window. I couldn't save up and buy it when I'm 60.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do when I'm 60, I don't think. I don't know. I hope that I can.
I don't know, man.
Sleds get better.
Yeah. Sleds get better. Like medicine gets better. Like
the grooming. Yeah.
Like health is getting better. Like,
yep. That's true. That's true.
Apparently we're the generation's going to live till like we're 150 or something.
Holy shit. So yeah, shredding at 60 in the backcountry, filming a part at 60.
Yeah.
That'd be sick, man. Yeah. That'd be a really fucking good way to go.
Yeah. Imagine like a double cork at 60. Like who's going to be the first?
Oh my God. That's fucking awesome. Right. Yeah. Then all these NBDs start happening because nobody in their 50s ever done a double cork ever. Right.
It's like the age-related NBD.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see that at the Mount Baker bank slalom.
Oh, right? Yeah.
That people are like, when they move up into another category, they're like, all right, now it's just me
crush the new time.
Tom Burton, you know, Rob Morrow. Yeah. Sick. I'm going to win this thing.
Yeah.
But it's fun, man. I think that the big thing with snowboarding and being a professional snowboarder is to never lose that stoke. Is to never become that guy that's, you know, this is your job and your job is boring. And but I'm sure it happens to some people. It doesn't look like it happened to you. Yeah.
Like, well, I always like figured like when the sponsor paycheck stopped coming, like I want to keep doing it. And like, I think a lot of guys, they do it for the money. And then as soon as they stop, they like completely stop snowboarding.
Yeah.
And so I think Sean Pettit went through this with skiing. To get a rise out of it, you have to do something so gnarly that it's just not worth it.
Totally.
And then, and then maybe you need to like take a few steps back, and then when you come back, you don't need to do the thrill-seeking things to enjoy it, and you'll enjoy just the simple like pow turn, right?
Yeah, man. So your career, money-wise, I've heard that you were really focused, and you built a company, right?
I guess you can say that. I built like a rental property company.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah, that's the smart thing.
I probably should consider it as a business.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that people, you know, I hear old people at my work saying, you got to start a YouTube channel because these kids these days are influencers and TikTok or whatever, like the get rich quick thing. But really, the smart move in finance is to invest in properties.
Yeah.
And rent them out to pay the mortgages, right? And get as many as you can.
Yeah.
And you did that. And when did you start on that?
Well, so that journey started when I was 30 years old, and I had the fear of like, this might be over anytime now. Yeah. And I should probably give some credit to my parents, put it in my head, like, what are you going to do after? What are you going to do after? And I was like, I want to snowboard. And like being a pro snowboarder, you get a lot of freedom. Like
so much.
So it's like, I don't want to lose that. I think it'd be pretty harsh to like try to get a 9-to-5. It'd be like a pretty big reality check. So all these fears kind of helped me like look into alternative ways to like make a living, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so I started investing around 2008. And I was getting interested in it, and I was reading books about it. I was reading like books about the stock market and real estate, or just personal finance in general, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept reading like, the stock market goes in cycles, it booms and then it busts, and the busts are like actually the best time to buy. And then the 2008 like financial crisis hit and the stock market completely collapsed. And I was like, holy shit, it's time to buy.
You're reading the books right at that point where it's like saying
the timing couldn't have been any better.
Crisis in human history.
And I had a bit of money because I had won the TELUS Big Air competition at in Whistler.
Yeah.
So I had some money and I bought Apple stock. and it's only when like I put like real money into the market where I like got hyper focused on it and like started learning even more about it. And I made a bunch of mistakes. Like I was like trading in and out of Apple stock when I should have if I had just left it, it would have been like way better.
Yeah.
But, so I started in stocks, and then it grew. Like the market came back from 2008 and I had a good chunk of money. And then I wanted something that like paid me money. Like stocks is fine. It goes up in value, but it didn't like give me an income.
Right.
Unless you're like into dividend stocks, and the dividend stocks seemed like it was little income. Like you need an exorbitant amount of money. So I started looking into real estate because it's like you get rental income.
Right.
And when like snowboarding's done, I need that income to like live, right? And so I bought my first property in 2014 in Squamish, just a condo, like paid the mortgage, paid the strata fees, paid the property taxes, and then I had $200 left over in my pocket.
Perfect.
And I was like, I could just copy paste this and make $200 every unit, and then at 10 units that's $2,000 a month. That's sick.
Yeah.
And
plus the value of the units that's going up and up and up over time.
Like a lot of the real estate books that I was reading was like, and this is like around like real estate guys around here, they don't really think about this, but it's like, don't bank on appreciation.
Okay.
Because that's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
We've had like an amazing appreciation in the last decade.
Sure.
But like, doesn't say it's going to happen in the next decade. So like my thing is like rely on cash flow. Like I can buy it for this much. My monthly expenses are this much. My rent is this much. And I make a profit on that.
Yeah.
That I can rely on. Right.
Yeah.
And then appreciation is like a bonus. And it's, so if you don't rely on it, it's kind of a bonus and it helps you later down the road. But it was just like, I got, it kind of became a side passion. Like I really enjoyed it, man. I get a high out of like finding a good real estate deal that's like dilapidated.
Yeah.
Going in, fixing it myself.
That's what I heard. That was the company that I heard about was basically the idea that you would take something that you knew had value, spend, your time either being the general contractor and getting people to do different things or doing a lot of the work yourself. Yeah. And then, so I always thought of it as flipping houses, but you're looking at it like the actual passive income coming in from like renting it out.
Income, And and this is like, I don't know, this is maybe advanced, but this is what I learned is like, if you buy a dilapidated property, it's below market value because it's dilapidated. No one wants to buy it. So you go in, I put in my sweat equity, I fix it up, and then it's worth more. And what the bank does is they'll lend you money on whatever it's worth. So if you buy it below market value, it's like a well-known strategy called the BRRRR strategy. It's B with 4 R's. Okay. It stands for like buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Nice. So you buy it, you renovate it, it's worth more, you put a tenant in it, it's generating income. So the bank's like, sick. Then you go to the bank, you say, I want to put a mortgage on this property, and they give you a chunk of money that, so you almost get like if you do it perfectly, you get your down payment back and you get your renovation costs back to roll into the next property.
So sick.
Yeah. So it's sick. It's sick in theory, but it's really hard to do.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah. And I kind of did it here, but now things are so expensive here.
It's nuts.
In Squamish, in Vancouver, whatever, it's almost impossible to find a property that you can buy, put a tenant in it, and then cover all your costs. Even just to break even, it's so hard.
Yeah, because the rents are so
yeah.
low compared to the amount that you're paying.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking in the Sudbury, MLS listings and finding a sixplex for $100,000. I was like, okay, so like if I take this mortgage out and I'm putting 5% down, I only have to come up with $5,000.
Yeah.
I'm getting I'm looking like they rent for like $500 each. Making $3,000 in rental income on something that's got like a $500 a month mortgage.
That's
like,
amazing.
I called my parents and I said, we should do this. There's no reason not to. And they're like, we don't want to be slumlords, 6 units. What happens when someone has a problem or whatever? Yeah. I'm like, well, with $2,500 a month, we could probably figure it out. Yeah.
No. And like, and tenants can be annoying. And I think,
sure.
Yeah, I'm glad I did it in my younger years, like when I had the hustle in me.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, I had like this goal of getting like a certain amount of properties and
sounded like 10.
Yeah, I was actually 16.
All right. Yeah, that's a big goal, man.
Well, it was like 16 doors and like make extra amount per door so that I had like this cash flow that I can rely on.
Perfect.
But yeah, like I got like pretty close but now I'm like, real estate, everyone's like, it's not passive. Like you have like tenants to deal with, you have maintenance and repairs. And like, I'm glad I did it younger because as kind of rental rates go up over time, eventually I'll just be like, I just can't do it anymore. I'll give it to a property manager and they'll take a cut, right?
Yep.
And like my cash flow will be kind of the same, I'm hoping.
Dope. Yeah, no, that's good.
But yeah, and then I started getting more into like stocks again because it's like way more passive. There's like no tenants to deal with. But don't get me wrong, like most of my tenants are awesome.
Oh, of course.
There's just like once in a while, there's some bad ones, there's some issues. So like stocks I'm really down with. And then like also once you like get to a certain amount of net worth, you're told that you should start diversifying. Because like what if real estate completely collapse and that's where all your eggs are, right?
Got it. Yeah. So you're thinking outside of that. Yeah. Even though you're finding success in that, you're like, okay, I can't bank on this forever. Possibly I should diversify.
Yeah. Yeah. And I enjoy it. I think a lot. Yeah. Like, I think I enjoy it. So that's why I'm interested in it and I do it. And I could totally see like I try to convince my girlfriend to like it, but she just, it just doesn't stick and it's not going to work.
It's not her deal.
And I get that. And I get that a lot of people are like that. And you just, if that's the case, like you find a really good like advisor.
Yeah.
And you just roll with it, let them deal with it. Right?
Or you do what I do, which is just like, I feel like I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I first heard about it 25 years ago, would have been a pretty good time to get into it, man. Yeah. Like a house in Vancouver, we got to get in, but I couldn't get over the hump to actually commit to that. I was just too scared.
Oh yeah. Dude.
And here I am 25 years later. I'm still too scared of getting in. Now I'm not in.
Yeah. And I feel you, man. My first one in Squamish, the condo, I was terrified. And I was like, so much money. I was like, my down payment was like, it was like $45,000 plus closing costs. And I was just like, that's fucking all my money.
Oh,
like,
everything. You're betting everything on one thing.
It's scary. It is. But like real estate is kind of like relatively safe. And like, there's a saying in real estate, it's like, there's 2 good times to buy. This is 10 years ago and then today.
That's it. Right.
Because in 10 years, you'll look back and be like, damn, I should have bought.
Yeah, totally. I've been doing that, for 3 cycles of like, well, if I would have bought then, I would have been fine now. Yeah, still. So I'm still doing that now. Have you ever looked at it like, okay, so 2 things. Crypto, which I love. Yeah. Have you ever done any crypto trading? You get into that a little bit?
I wouldn't call it trade. Like to me, trading is like you're going in and out of it. Yes. And you're trying to time it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I invested a small amount and it's super interesting to me. And I think it's pretty game changing.
Yeah.
It's just like a weird thing, like to make money on. It's like,
It's not doing anything. Like the crypto hasn't started to be adapted into actually
it's hard to understand. Yeah. Hard to grasp. Like what's the use case and how will it make it appreciate? Like a stock, you're buying a part of a company that's selling something and making money. So it's
a mining company, they're just about to strike gold. You're like, I want that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or like Tesla, they sell cars, they make money, and then you get a part of that, right? So that makes sense. But like crypto is like, you're kind of buying this dream or this speculation where like at first Bitcoin was a currency.
Yes.
And it's like everyone's going to use it instead of cash.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, well then why does it go up in value? Well, because as it gains popularity, there's more demand and it goes up in value, just like a Canadian dollar or American dollar does the same thing.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, but now it's like, well, Bitcoin isn't really cash. It's more of a store of value like gold is.
Totally.
So then you're like, okay. And then you're like, kind of change your thesis and you're like, okay, like, what does that mean? You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm no expert and, but I love like kind of talking. Jody's kind of really big into it.
He loves it.
And a couple other guys. And I love talking about it and seeing like how it's shaping. And I think that it will be a big part of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, figuring out how.
I remember thinking a couple of years back, like Facebook was going to do a token that you could earn by using Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh,
Libra or something
if that comes out, that's going to rip. But then I got an email like last week about Vemp Coin, which is okay. So Vemp Coin has come out with a game that you play that you earn currency in the game. And then you can use the currency to buy shit in the game.
Right.
So like now they can sell it to kids that are addicted to the game and it's going up in value. I put in $100 last week and it was like $400 today.
Wow. That's like inching towards the metaverse.
Yes.
Which Facebook is now going to wants to be the biggest player.
Right. It's going to be insane.
So there you go. Like there's another use case for cryptocurrency because it's like you're in a digital world. I thought obviously you'll use digital money, right?
I've got most of my money in Digibyte, which is just it's the reason that I have it in there is that it's open source. Okay. So there's nobody behind it. There's no whale. There's no ownership that's trying to pump the tires.
Gotcha.
It's its own thing. And it's 5 times more encrypted than Bitcoin. So it's like really safe, supposedly. Safe, yeah. And then they also started the NFT thing. So you can make digi assets, but you can do them quickly and cheaply.
Okay.
So like they're looking at maybe, backing like say a Ticketmaster or something so that when you get a ticket, it's in the blockchain. Right. So I can give you an authenticated ticket that you're like, now you can buy it off of Craigslist without feeling oh, is this a piece of paper guy photocopied? No, it's like
it's real. It's authenticated through the blockchain, right? Yeah. So there's so many things like that.
Once that shit hits, I think it's going to be because we're at the speculation point now. We're not at the adoption point where it's actually being adopted into.
Yeah, like I heard a lot of good analogies. It's kind of like we're at the start of the internet. Like everyone jumped on like the .com train because they're like, well, we don't really know what it is and like how it's going to help us, but it will.
Yes.
And today, it's a huge part of our world. So I think it's a lot like that. But it sounds like you're invested, which is sick, dude.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I just think, it's one of those things that if it goes exponential, all right, then I'll buy a house. That's the crazy part, right?
Yeah.
Is that I should have just started with the house and put a little of the extra into the crypto thing. I don't know, man. Well, I haven't put that much thought into it.
Well, yeah, like how long would it take you to save a down payment? You're like, it'd take you forever. So you have to like start with investments. I started with stocks.
Yeah.
Crypto has had like a hell of a run the last 10 years. So obviously there's 10
years especially, right?
There's something there, right?
Yeah. Let's hope another 10 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
Did you ever look at investing in any snowboarding related stuff? It's so small of an industry, isn't it? There's not really much that you can.
Yeah. Not really.
Right.
Yeah. It's just like, Yeah, it's a small industry. It's for a long time, snowboarding was really saturated. There were so many brands, and then being behind the scenes, watching the trends of like budgets shrinking because it's like the industry and the business isn't really doing well.
Right.
So like, yeah, it was never really like enticing to get into it.
Yeah, I remember when ride stock. I mean, you would have been a little
this
kid.
would have been in the 90s, right?
Yeah, 95.
Wow.
It was the third highest performing stock of the year in North America that year.
That's when snowboarding was seeing like crazy growth.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was nuts.
Yeah. Actually, I remember hearing Jake Burton on a podcast, and he said he was feeling pressure to bring Burton public.
Yes.
Because Ride went public.
Right.
And then all the Ride people and employees got rich off it.
Super rich.
Because like, yeah, that's what happens. When
Jason Fort was a millionaire for a while there.
Wow.
Yeah. I think he had 25,000 shares, and it was at $40 a share or something.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's 1 million on the nose. Yeah.
But way to go. Like, good for Jake for like kind of staying true to his brand and being like, I don't want other people to control my brand.
That's where where we started. And I think that's a good place to kind of come to towards the end of the thing, is that it's a double-edged sword. Like Burton being owned by one person means that their word goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if Donna's making the call, then Donna's making the call. And if that means there's no Terrier on the team, like I'm not saying that there's a 1-to-1. It's not like Donna was like, okay, that's it for Terrier. See you later. It's like, but there's no shareholders voting to keep him there, and there's no shareholders to vote him out.
Yeah, you're kind of like, it's one bias, right?
One bias.
Yeah.
And so whatever they decide that they're going to do, if they're going to pay industry standard wages, or they're going to pay more than everybody else, or they're going to pay as little as they can, that's all dependent on one person.
Yeah.
So
that can be to their detriment.
It seems like it's been to their advantage, though. When I actually look at it, like the way that Burton has grown organically since the beginning.
Well, especially like snowboarding. Like snowboarding is such a cultural sport.
Totally.
And like a public company that goes in looking at numbers and looking at like, and they have to show growth every quarter after quarter, and it doesn't matter who's in the way. Like, it's like, I think for snowboarding, it makes sense. Yeah.
Jamie Salter was there at that kind of moment, and his episode will come out later on this year. He talks about, it's so funny because he's not the most liked guy in the industry. He might even be the most hated guy in the industry, actually. Right. Because he was just like about dollars and cents. And he says the reason he liked the name Ride was that it could work for everything. Ride skateboards, ride bikes, ride scooters, ride inline skates. Like he is like
just a huge
you ride everything.
brand.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. And so he was going, those short-sighted assholes, at Ride didn't realize we could have had it all. And they're going, holy shit, that guy didn't realize you're going to ruin Ride snowboards if you're going to have scooters.
Yeah, because those brands just they ride and they bust, right? Like
ride and bust.
It becomes a Walmart brand and no one cares about them, and then it's just like small margins, whatever. But I saw it with K2. K2 used to be owned by a publicly traded company.
Yes,
and it recently sold, and now it's private.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So K2's out on their own now.
They're on their own, and you could see it where like they're doing strategies that are more long term.
Cool.
And
of course.
Yeah. And it makes sense. Like, I think the frustration before being a public company was that like you would start this momentum and they had this idea and it was a great idea. But the shareholders didn't see the results quick enough.
Right.
And before it really had an impact, they shut the program down.
Unbelievable.
It's that kind of.
Yeah, big money shit kind of seems like it sucks, to be honest.
Yeah.
I went to the K2 factory on Vashon.
Oh yeah.
Like, so when everything was
made in Seattle,
made in Seattle. Yeah. And you talk about like the heart and soul of a company. Like you see the people working in the factory and you see the guys in the marketing departments and the customer service guys, and everybody's got this sense of pride of like, we're building something. we're actually, this is where Glenn Plake came in and slept under the desk. This is,
so sick.
It's it has such a long history, and it was such a rad feeling. And yeah, I can imagine that was 20 years ago now?
Wow.
Yeah. So, and now it's like, the boards they're putting out are really fun and exciting again. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. 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 Good people behind it right now. And and it shows. I think it I don't know. I see more of it. Maybe I'm biased because I'm,
because you're there.
My mind's looking for it, but
right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's super hard for like some investor guy to see the value.
Right.
In having like a Jamie Lynn on the team.
Yeah. Yeah. What's he doing?
Yeah.
He is being Jamie Lynn. Yeah. That is what he does.
He's giving us so much street cred right
now. Yeah, exactly.
He's making all the cool kids want our products, and all the cool kids tell the other followers what's cool.
Right. And then you get the money guy going, I don't give a shit about the cool kids. I want to sell to moms that got money and dads that are buying it at Sport Check, and they're not going into these specialty shops. You go, no, you need the specialty shops.
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah.
Well, because otherwise your brand does exactly what you were saying.
It becomes a Walmart brand.
Walmart people don't buy on quality. They buy on price. Mm-hmm. So you're just going to have to find the cheapest thing. And that means you don't have designers. That means you don't have innovation. That doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it's I think the snowboarders that are really into snowboarding, they're buying their product off emotion.
Yes.
They're buying their favorite boarder's pro model or brand or anything.
Agreed.
And I think that has more longevity than like a price point where people are trying to make things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and, drive sales.
The race to the bottom they talk about, right? Like it's, fun. Yeah. Awesome shit, dude. Yeah. This has been a lot of fun, man. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you were thinking that you'd want to talk about?
No, man, we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you said that you had to charge your car on the way up here. That's really cool. I'm super into electric cars. So.
I mean, you've got a, is it a diesel truck or you've got a gas truck?
I got this old Toyota Tundra.
Yeah.
But my partner and I have a Tesla.
What? You guys bought a Tesla?
We got one this
Did
summer.
you buy Tesla stock as well?
Oh, yeah. I invested in Tesla in 2012.
Oh, good for you.
And
that's
I just
sick.
I love electric cars, and I think they'll electrify like transport. I want electric sleds.
I've talked with the electric sleds guy. I talked to Tega. I talked to one of the owners and developers there, and was like, I got to you got to lend me one to bring out and show everybody that it works or whatever. And he's like, yeah, sure, we'll get you on the program. Then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So. And I didn't really follow up because I started sledding and I was like, you don't need to lend me a sled, man. That is a bad advertisement for electric sleds if I'm the guy showing up.
Yeah.
But I want to get a Tesla Model S 85D.
Oh, nice. All-wheel drive.
With the supercharger, like for life.
Free supercharger.
Free for life.
Yeah.
I think that's the hidden gem.
Hidden value.
It gets 400 kilometers range.
Yeah.
It can tow shit. There's a guy that put up videos of him towing his boat. I mean, maybe he's not towing it up the mountain road.
Sky,
but I think with 400 kilometers and then supercharging right here in Squamish, I think I can do it.
Oh, big time!
I'd really, really like. That's my dream. I've got an offer with a guy that's asking $61,000 for a 2015, and I think. Okay. If I can get the financing, I'll just pull the pin on it and do it. Yeah. Now, this is the opposite of what you're talking about, making your money make money. This is the trap that consumers get stuck in, which is buying a nice thing and then paying it off with future money, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, you're buying an electric car.
Yes.
Not driving my truck.
Yes.
Basically finances the Tesla.
Yeah. The electric car I have is a Kia Soul EV. It's only got 200 kilometers range. So it's in the city, it's fine. Coming up here, I probably could have drove here. For sure, I could have drove here and back, but then I'd have no charge in the city.
You'd be sweating on the way back.
And you sweat a little bit.
You use the Electrify America chargers?
That's what I've used when I'm up here.
London Drive there?
That's what I use up here.
Sick.
Just it's still cheap. Dude, I've only paid for electricity probably now with twice or 3 times in Squamish, probably under 10 times still.
Wow.
In 3 years.
That's sick.
60,000 kilometers.
Wow.
I trickle charge it in my underground parking lot, and I don't even pay for electricity at my place.
Yeah. So you're talking about buying nice things. That thing is like saving you money.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention like electric cars have zero maintenance, no oil changes,
Nothing.
no like exhaust pipe that falls off because it's
insane.
too rusty. Like it's
The dealer tries to get me in there, and they always find something. Like they threaten me, like, if you don't bring it in for scheduled maintenance, you're going to go off your warranty, which is an 8-year warranty or something. 8 years on the battery, 5 years bumper to bumper.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, but they just find,
the dealers,
changing the air in the tires for $500 or whatever it is, right? Like I'm just going, you guys are ripoffs.
Yeah.
You know, I can put my own snow tires on there on rims. It's simple.
Yeah.
But I've definitely found, I did that exact calculation you just talked about. I was spending $100 a week in gas and a 1998 Subaru, Legacy.
Okay. Yeah.
All-wheel drive, kind of like wasteful driving around the city.
Yeah.
And I just put that into the payment of the car, and it was like almost
cheap.
exactly the same. And so then I have a brand new car versus an old junker that is, constantly things falling apart.
Yeah, totally.
And so financially it just made sense. And even with paying for electricity, it's just so infrequent. But even if I was, it's like, I think you get 1,000 kilometers for $10.
Yeah. Well, I got an app that you like log into your BC Hydro and you could see how much your car is costing you.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's really sick.
What does it look like?
For
Ballpark.
the Tesla, it's for August, which was a big month.
Yeah.
Because we drove a lot around. It was like $30 for the month. And like,
what did you get? Did you get a Model 3?
I got a Model 3.
Yeah. You got the incentives on it? Did you?
I did not.
Because you got some options?
I got the dual motor.
Oh, nice.
Because I wanted the all-wheel drive and I wanted the range.
Yep.
And I justified it because I'm saving on fuel.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't get the credits if it's over 55.
Yeah. They I don't know why they did that, but because it's luxury. They're like, you can't buy a luxury vehicle, I think.
I think they probably see it as like you're giving tax credits to the rich.
Sure.
Because they're expensive cars,
They are. Yeah, I got 11 grand off mine.
Oh, wow.
So like I've traded in a car I got for free from somebody at work for 6 grand off the Scrap It program, and then 5 grand of BC or federal, whatever it was.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was looking at used ones, and it happened so fast. I was like, oh my God, a brand new one is cheaper than used.
Yeah.
And they did the car dealership thing where they just put the number. They said, could you pay this every 2 weeks? And I'm like, well, I guess. I think I wound up all right. I think I got 0% financing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
that's free money right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been driving it for 3 years and haven't had not one thing.
Yeah.
Would you ever do the Powerwall thing and then solar?
Yeah. If it made sense. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had to replace the roof on this place. And I was like, should I get the Tesla roof? And I looked into it and it's just like not even available, and it'd be like really expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that shit really interests me. Like just being like off grid.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too that I've been telling myself about not getting into the housing market is I'd like to buy land somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to build one of those alternative homes like what Mary France has done.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to have rainwater collection, solar, maybe wind if it made sense.
Yeah.
Definitely like hydro. Yeah. If it's got a small, like you can get these little generators that just go off
like
hydro.
A creek next to your property.
That's it, man. Yeah. And my buddy did that. And I was like, $10,000 like for all the electricity you need for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Dude, of course. Sure. Why would you not do that?
Yeah.
And then if you had the Powerwall, you could store it and run your house off it and run your car off it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sounds really like what I want to do.
I think it's the future. Like I think eventually most people will have that.
I like the way that the electric car companies have done it. It's like they give you a better car than a gas car. It's way more, it's way
Yeah.
faster. It's like fucking awesome.
Well,
it's cheaper.
that's kind of, I mean, a lot of people shit on capitalism, but that's capitalism.
Yes.
They're like, it's a no-brainer. Buy this car, it's a no-brainer. And,
Yeah.
you know, so I do think that capitalism will help like bring better products for the environment.
Yeah.
Because it'll just make sense. But I do think like policies need to change, and the big polluters are like big companies. And that's like, as an individual, like you don't have much power on that, right?
Yeah.
Like what are you going to do?
Yeah. Even when I financed my car, there was no room at the table for me to be like, can we get the most eco-friendly money, please?
Yeah.
It's like, this is the offer. They don't even really tell you who the bank is.
Yeah.
And you go, well, yeah, let's do that. 0% sounds great.
Yeah.
But it's 0% because those guys are making money in oil or whatever they're doing.
It's subsidized someone.
Yeah. Cigarettes or something. You know what I mean? I'm financing a cigarette company to drive an electric car or whatever.
Or fuck, maybe they bought Tesla stock and that's how they're
It
making their
could
money.
be. Yeah, it could be. That's what I like to tell myself for sure.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Matt.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up, man. I appreciate you coming here. I'm still in my morning attire, which is nice. And
Yeah, that's
I feel
dope.
like I've done something today. So
Congratulations on the family.
thank you.
Yeah, man.
No, we're doing good, man. Yeah, we're managing, and it's what a trip.
Oh yeah, are you going to set up that Tesla to tow your sled? Can you do that?
No, I'll be using my truck.
Because you just drive it up into the
yeah,
front.
it's just in the box, and
Yeah.
So the truck's kind of like a sled toy, and like I have a canopy on it. We go camping with it.
Sick.
Yeah, really like. I really want a cyber truck.
Me too.
But they're like really expensive.
I don't understand what's going on with them.
They're just delayed. I mean,
a couple of years now, isn't it? Or
Yeah, but
they're like a year late.
man, they have to like rethink the way they make vehicles. Like this thing's like the exoskeleton is like, it's like no car has ever been made this way. So they got to like rethink everything. So
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard Elon talking about it, and he's like, I want it to look like a tank.
Yeah.
Because what's more badass than a tank?
Yeah. Do you want your truck to be bulletproof or not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Derek Height, the old Burton competitor, like he ordered 10 of them. He did a pre-order of 10 for his company. Damn. Yeah. And that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, apparently it's like next year, maybe end of next year, we'll be seeing them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a trip seeing them drive around.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be a trip.
Yeah.
Like it's for a few years, it's going to be like, whoa, there's another one.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
And then hopefully it'll normalize, and then everyone will just have them.
Are they going to have are the specs big enough you could drive a sled into the back of those things?
Yeah. Yeah. 6.5 foot box.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah. It's just like what I have now. And I think it's going to be like a wicked sled truck.
Yeah. And those electric sleds, I've heard finally from someone who actually rode one, and they're like, oh, they're dope.
Yeah. They were up here testing them out last year.
Yeah.
I talked to a few guys. They're like, yeah, they're not quite there yet, but they're like
they're
really close. And
yeah.
I think it's just in a matter of a few years. And
that was the thing for me. When I got hurt last year sledding, because everyone said, look, you're struggling now. Just wait until March. March is when you're going to get your legs. I got hurt in February.
Oh, shit.
And by March, I was like I was scared, actually. Now I'm psyched. I'm excited for this season. Made myself feel better by realizing this is like learning to play hockey at GM Place with the Canucks are on the ice.
Yeah.
And you're trying to play with them, but you don't even know how to skate yet. Like, that's what it feels like.
Okay, yeah.
So, I should be on the sled by myself just tooling around.
Yeah. I can see that. I feel like that reminds me of like when I go surfing and like the swall's huge and there's a bunch of good guys in the water. And I'm just like the Canadian out there. Like,
but you get better. That's the thing.
Yeah, you gotta push back that discomfort.
That's why I felt good about telling myself, like, if you can sled in Whistler backcountry, you can sled pretty much everywhere. Yeah. And
it's so much easier now. Like Brandywine, it's like cat track right to the Alpine.
That's nuts, right? Yeah. I did best lap of the year last year was as far as the cat track went. And
probably Brandywine Bowl, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Sick.
Yeah. with that Fabe C call-in guy.
Yeah, Fabes.
Yeah.
What a legend. He's a dude that gets after it.
Yeah. Powder stocks. Yeah. Holy shit, dude. I
see money. Yeah, I love his videos.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a gem.
All right, buddy. Thanks very much. Man.
Well, hey, yeah, thanks anytime. And hopefully we'll see you this winter.
Yeah, you bet. Same.
Hell yeah.
All right.
All right.
Peace. FNRad shoutouts this week to Matt Belzile, his partner Ashley, and their new baby Naomi. Thanks for inviting me into your home. Oh my God, his kid is so cute. Special thanks to intern Josh and Rob Dow for working so hard on social media posts and getting the FNRad YouTube channel up and running. Thanks to you listeners who listen on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Be sure to leave a review. Thanks for listening to the end. I'm off to hike at Mount Seymour. It snowed overnight and a bit today. I'm stoked. You guys got to come back next week for another episode of the FNRad Snowboard Podcast presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.